Welcome back to Steel City Sports. So today we're going to be talking about one of the most bizarre situations I've ever seen since I've started watching the NFL, and that is the collapse of the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles, a team that was in the Super Bowl the year prior, looked like they had a top 3 quarterback on the planet, looked like they were on top of the world, had player for player the best roster in the NFL, Pro Bowlers, potential Hall of Fame players in every unit on their team, to the next year, a disgrace. And we're going to talk today about some of the reasons why this collapse happened and what the Eagles' outlook should be going forward. So just getting into this, like the Eagles for me, the reason why this is so weird is because we have seen teams get to the Super Bowl and then just not be the same. We saw the Seahawks after they blew it in the Super Bowl, Russ throwing that pick in the end zone. The Seahawks, they were like a good team, but they were never really psychologically able to reach that level of dominance ever again. We saw that happen with the Atlanta Falcons after they blew that 28-3 in the Super Bowl. They never recovered. They were never a good team after that. Countless examples of teams losing the Super Bowl, and the locker room, the team is just never psychologically the same. That's why it's so bizarre for the Philadelphia Eagles, because if they just started off the year and they were just losing games left and right and they kind of had a disappointing year, it'd be like, okay, that's one thing, you get it. Like I just said, we've seen this happen with Super Bowl losing teams. They started off the year 10-1. They looked like they didn't miss a beat. Now, don't get me wrong, there were still issues with the Eagles back whenever they were 10-1. A lot of people were, even I was saying this early on in the year, the offense just did not look the same. My biggest concern about this team was losing both their coordinators entering the year, especially Steichen, but Jonathan Gannon as well. Definitely later on in the year, Jonathan Gannon was definitely missed, but Steichen was missed for the entire year. I just think the offense looked completely predictable, stagnant, I don't know. They had the same point differential as the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints were bad this year, so it's like they're winning games, but it doesn't look anything like the year prior where they were just pummeling teams. They were blowing people out. Jalen Hurts was the runner-up for MVP last year. And then you just look at how they did this year, and his stats definitely dropped off. I'm going to defend Jalen Hurts in this video. You're definitely going to hear me say that because Jalen Hurts, I'll tell you guys my bias. I like Jalen Hurts a lot. He is one of my favorite players. I loved him at Oklahoma, and I've been a follower of him ever since then. So I might have a bias towards Jalen, but the discourse around Jalen Hurts genuinely disgusts me. What I'm hearing people say about Jalen Hurts on social media, on YouTube, in the national media, the conversations around Jalen Hurts genuinely disgust me because now I'm seeing people say he's not even a top-tier NFC quarterback now. I'm seeing people rate Jordan Love over Jalen Hurts. Did Jordan Love have a fantastic year? Yes. Did Jordan Love, you can argue, had a statistical better season than Jalen Hurts? Yes. In a vacuum, though, who do you want on your team? If you say Jordan Love, I don't know what the reasoning is. It really comes off as recency bias. Let's not forget, Jalen Hurts, when put in the right situation with the right coach, Shane Steichen, was the runner-up for MVP and outplayed Patrick Mahomes in a freaking Super Bowl. Everyone talks about how he had this disappointing year and he regressed. Well, no shit, he regressed. The year he had last year was one of the best quarterback seasons we've seen in a decade. You know, how dynamic he is. So, of course, he was going to regress. Anything other than winning MVP and winning the Super Bowl was going to be a quote-unquote regression from Jalen Hurts. So that drives me nuts whenever I hear that. I still consider Jalen Hurts to be the best quarterback in the NFC. You know, people saying Love has the potential to do that, but was his year anywhere near as impressive as last year's Jalen? No. Dak Prescott, give me a break. Brock Purdy, give me a break. It's just really frustrating. And let's talk a little more about this year with Jalen. He's such a unique and dynamic type of player that it takes a really smart offensive mind to really get the best out of Jalen's skill set. So when you put him with an incompetent guy like Brian Johnson, who was calling the plays this year, who was so good that he's not coming back for the Eagles next year, it's just obviously clearly going to take a drop-off. We know Shane Steichen is one of the best minds. We know coaching matters a lot in the NFL. Shane Steichen, look at what he did with the Indianapolis Colts. Last year, they were a dumpster fire. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. They picked in the top 5 in the draft. You have to be really, really bad to do that. And Shane Steichen went there, and they were one game out of a playoff berth with a backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew. That's how much of a stud Shane Steichen is. So you want to talk about the Eagles Super Bowl run. I think Shane Steichen had a lot more to do with it than Nick Sirianni did. Nick Sirianni just comes off to me as a cheerleader. I don't think Nick Sirianni is a very good head coach, and he proved that this year. When he doesn't have the right coordinators around him, he's not good enough to elevate this team. He's not good enough to call plays on the offense or the defense, and that's why I think he should have been shit-canned after that embarrassing performance, that dreadful performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round. That was shameful. The team performance from the Philadelphia Eagles in that game was one of the most pathetic, embarrassing performances I've ever seen. The team quit. The team looked like they didn't want to be there. And the fact that Sirianni kept his job to me now, I don't get how it can be defended. Eagles fans, I really want to hear from you here because I get it. On his resume, he's been to a Super Bowl. But like we just broke down, I think Steichen was a much more vital piece to that than Nick Sirianni was. So going forward with the Eagles, I think as long as Sirianni's at the helm, I think you're probably going to have a similar year this year. And you're probably going to see the Eagles look a lot more like they did the last half of this year more than the first half. And their defense has drastic problems. Their secondary just needs completely scrapped. I like Kevin Byard. I like Darius Slay. But the age and just the production is at a point now where it's kind of hard to justify, especially with what these guys are making. These guys in the Philadelphia secondary are making a premium. We know Bradbury's not coming back. There's no way. That guy is toast. I don't see him being a starting cornerback in the NFL anymore. The Buccaneers were like just going at James Bradbury in that playoff game. They knew he was the weak link. The game plan was on point. He was awful. They couldn't tackle. So as long as Sirianni's there, as long as you don't get a competent guy running the offense who can really work with Jalen, I think you're going to see this team struggle more next year. And the defense needs drastic help as well. So it's going to be really rough next year. My prediction for the Eagles, it could blow up really fast because this is a team with one fan base. This fan base has one of the highest expectations in the entire league. So you're going to have that immense amount of pressure. You're paying a lot of guys on this team. There's a lot of future Hall of Fame talent on this roster. And if they have, if they look like they did the second half of this season next year, it could blow up really quickly. I could see Sirianni being gone by Halloween. And I don't know. So that's just been kind of my quick rant. I needed to get some of this off my chest. The stuff about Jalen not being good really, really pissed me off and kind of what made me want to do this video. So let me know your thoughts on all this, especially the Eagles fans. We, of course, want to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.